Well, praise God. Welcome to the Big Vision podcast. Listen, we have a special episode, but before we get in, this episode is brought to you by First Responder Blinds. Listen, if you have any window treatment needs, if you need blinds, shutters, shades, I want you to call First Responder Blinds at 334-451-9829. Listen, guys, we are sitting down right now with candidate for Autauga County Sheriff, Kevin McNatt, to learn more about his vision, leadership, and plans for our future community. Kevin, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody about yourself?
Well, I'm a 23-year veteran of law enforcement in the state of Alabama.
Wow.
I started off as a school resource officer in the small town of Autaugaville, Alabama.
Wow, that's awesome.
Population of roughly at that time 900. I put myself through a reserve academy, paid my own way, got recruited by Sheriff Johnson to the sheriff's office shortly at the end of that school year. I worked at the sheriff's office up until 2017, where I was recruited to go to the state. At the state, I started off as a correctional investigative agent, worked my way into senior agent, and now I'm a supervisory agent with the state. I spent 2 years on an FBI and U.S. Department of Justice task force where we investigated civil rights under color of law violations and public corruption. Great experiences there. I've taught both firearms and active shooter at 3 of the 4 regional police academies. That's I'm very proud of. Teaching the young officers how to do it right. It's probably one of the most important things we do.
Yes.
I'm married. I have children and grandchildren in Autauga County. Deep roots in Autauga County, and I just love this county.
Well, that's awesome. You know, here's something that we have going on in Autauga County right now, is we have a few people running for sheriff. So, Kevin, why should voters consider you over the other 3 candidates?
Certainly. Well, so I believe if you put all 4 of us side by side, if you just look at the training, the experience, and the education of each, I feel that I stand head and shoulders above the other 3 candidates. I have a bachelor's and master's degree from Faulkner University.
Wow. That's awesome.
In criminal justice and justice administration. Again, I teach constitutional use of force. I've taught at Faulkner University for the continuing education credits for law enforcement. I teach at the academies. I love instruction. Under Sheriff Johnson and Sheriff Settinger, I was responsible as a deputy to go around and teach the Run, Hide, Fight programs at all the community groups and schools within the county. And what Run, Hide, Fight is the civilian version of active shooter training, what a civilian should do if they get caught up in a situation where there is an active shooter. And it doesn't have to necessarily be an active shooter. It can be some kind of active detrimental criminal activity in a place. The moves and the things you do are the same. I'm rooted in this community. My children and grandchildren go to Billingsley School, so we are deeply rooted into this community. Yeah. I joke sometimes that I've had so many kids through that school that I think they should, put a wing named after me or something at this point. But I love this county. I love the sheriff's office and the things that come with that. Autauga County is a unique county because it's a very rural county, other than the city of Prattville, and it's mostly made up of blue-collar workers who, they work hard. They like to buy things for themselves, and they're niceties. They want to be left alone, and they want somebody to not steal their stuff.
Yes.
You have some of the nicest people in this community, or in these communities, and each one of them are kind of uniquely diverse. What Autaugaville's needs are different than Jones or Marbury's or Pine Level's needs, but all in all, they all are just, again, decent people who want to be left alone by crime and have their own way.
Well, that's awesome. So let's talk about some community safety and policing. So, what do you believe are the biggest public safety issues facing our county right now?
So currently what I've seen, and this is not just in our county, this is pretty much the state of Alabama. Drugs is a big issue, obviously. Drugs is always going to be a big issue. So you have to combat that. Ways to combat that, not just through the narcotics units, but the narcotics units working hand in hand with the other jurisdictions around us, like a task force type thing. Also with the federal assets brought into it. Theft is a huge issue.
I hate it
Everywhere. I mean, again,
Yeah,
we work
I hate it.
hard
Yep.
for what we get,
Yep.
you know, and
nobody
I want
steal
I
it.
want it to stay mine, you know.
That's right.
So to solve that, proactive policing.
Yes.
I mean, not just deputies being seen in public, but actually being seen and deterring crime.
Yeah.
It can be done in so many different ways, but they have to be able to be allowed to be proactive,
Yes.
not reactive. Law enforcement should stop crime before it happens, not just write a report.
Yeah.
So,
You know, Mr. Kevin, there's a lot of people who are leaving the city of Montgomery and moving to Autauga County, Prattville, and the surrounding cities. And one of the main reasons is because of the crime. So what would be your plan, you know, to kind of deter the crime from Montgomery from coming into Autauga County?
again, to reiterate from the previous question, a very proactive agency deters crime.
Yes.
When you don't know where the deputies are going to be at any given time, when deputies are out there with the community, working hand in hand with them. I always give examples of when I was promoted from sergeant in narcotics over to night shift lieutenant. We worked very proactively in the county. I was asked why my shift had higher stats than the other 3 shifts combined. We worked 12-hour shifts, so there was 4 shifts: a day shift, a night shift, A and B, right? My guys had a higher arrest rate, a higher incident offense report rate, and a higher business check rate, something I instituted when I went to night shift. I want you checking the businesses at night because if you're out there checking them,
That's right.
it's deterring crime.
Yep.
Not to mention if you know I come to your business in the middle of the night and you're actually here as the business owner, you're happy that I am stopping you.
Yes.
You know, because I'm checking.
That's right.
But I had a higher rate on my shift than the other 3 shifts combined. And
Wow.
it's because I am proactive.
Yeah.
As a lieutenant on that shift, I was proactive. So my guys had to keep up with me. So we were stopping vehicles, we were making things. Now, I tell people all the time, I stopped probably anywhere between 200 and 500 vehicles in a month, and maybe only wrote 1 or 2 tickets. But stopping somebody in the middle of the night and just having a conversation on the side of the road. Now, it may have been for, you're doing 15 miles an hour over the speed limit. I don't necessarily have to get in your pocketbook to change your behavior, right? So if I stop you and say, hey, you were 15 over, where are you coming to, where are you coming from, whatnot. We have a conversation on the side of the road, and I let you go with a warning, hey, please don't do that again, or if I catch you again, I probably will write you a ticket. You're probably going to drive well for the next few months. Hey, that deputy was so nice, he didn't write me a ticket. Hey, I'm not going to let him write me a ticket, so I'm gonna do what I'm supposed to do. Now, on US Highway 82, I stopped 2 guys for a failure to dim traffic stop. Their brights were on. I flashed my brights at them. They didn't dim theirs, so I stopped them. Long story short, they had a bunch of Husqvarna weed eaters, chainsaws, pole saws, other tools in the bed of the truck. It was an old Chevy Cheyenne pickup truck, so it was a single cab. They had 7 long guns in the front and a homemade 12-gauge zip gun. Got them out, questioned them. They both had different stories. Ended up having a reason to arrest them. I towed the vehicle to the sheriff's office. Well, I got off at 6 in the morning. By about 11, my phone starts blowing up, waking me up out of a dead sleep. all the things I had run that night, all the serial numbers, all the firearms and everything, they were starting to get what they call delayed NCIC hits, meaning people were waking up and finding out that they had been burglarized and were reporting it to law enforcement. Law enforcement was going and putting it into the nationwide computer, and hey, it was run last night by Deputy McNatt in Autauga County. I was able to solve 7 burglaries that had happened that evening before the people knew that those burglaries had happened, and got them their property back.
That's what I'm talking about right there.
That's proactivity.
Yes.
And that's what, as sheriff, I'm going to bring to the county. I want criminals to be fearful to come to our county and commit crimes.
Yep.
As you said, the mass exodus from Montgomery is going into Autauga, Elmore, and Chilton counties, and to some extent to South Montgomery County. With that comes other issues. Up in the Pine Level area, when I was just a deputy, we had, I want to say it was like 35 burglaries in one neighborhood. And it was because the people had come from Montgomery and felt that they lived in the country now, and they didn't lock their doors or anything else. And some Montgomery, it ended up being some Montgomery people, but they went up through these neighborhoods just off the interstate, and whatever was unlocked, they were taking whatever was in that car. And they hit, and I want to say it was 30 or greater that we did reports in one morning. And their thought was, well, it's rural Autauga County. They don't have the resources to catch us. Well, we caught them. So because we are blessed that we don't have a very high crime rate, we can focus on catching you.
Yes.
And that's the key. Deterring crime. And to stop that part of it with the mass exodus and them feeling like they can just leave their doors unlocked, community involvement. Getting out with the communities and talking to them, finding out what the problems are, and giving them suggestions on how to avert crime, how to not become a victim, refuse to be a victim. Simple things, lock your doors, put out lights, just the simple things in life. Criminals like the darkness. They don't like the light.
Well, that's awesome. I appreciate that. Here's my next question right here. Here recently over the last 5 years, we've heard things like mental illness, depression, anxiety, all those things. So how will you address the rise of mental health related incidents that law enforcement often responds to?
So historically, law enforcement have always responded to these. I used to always joke that it wasn't so much you enforce the laws. You have to be the counselor. You have to be the parent sometimes. You have to do everything. Luckily, there's been a spotlight put on these issues in the last 10 to 15 years. So a lot of good training has come to be available now for law enforcement that traditionally was not there. There's a place called Culture City, starts with a K, culture with a K, that puts out, and it's been mandated by APOS now, for special needs contacts, right? How to deal with people with autism and other special needs. Very good class. Luckily, the Alabama Peace Officer Standard Training Commission is now mandating that for all agencies, but there are other trainings available as well. Those usually are free classes. They don't cost anything, especially if you host them. You can host these classes. Many of them are online, to where you can get an entire shift and put it on the big screen and knock out an hour or two of training without having to spend a dime to leave. Maybe feed them or something. Debbie's love to be fed.
Me too. Praise God.
Amen. Throw some tacos on the table and get some training, and that's a good day. So there are plenty of avenues out there, and free training that doesn't cost us anything, so that we can. My firm belief is a better educated law enforcement officer does a better job.
Hey, that's right.
Because it teaches them to think outside that box.
That's powerful.
We don't need them to be sitting in a box.
Yep, that's right.
That if something happens outside those standard lines, they can't figure out how to act or what to do. Yep. You need to educate them. A better educated officer serves the public better.
That's right. That's awesome. how will you hold deputies accountable if they engage in racial profiling?
So, this is a standard age-old question. So, I have been a victim of being accused of racial profiling on night shift again. The only reason you stopped me was because I'm black or because I'm Mexican or because I'm whatever. And I always thought it was kind of humorous that they told me that because it's pitch black at night. I can't see who's in the car.
Yeah.
I'm stopping you for whatever
Right.
reasonable suspicion or probable cause that I developed, and didn't know what I was getting into until I got up to your door. I don't know if you're man, woman, black, white, Asian. I don't know what religion you are, and it doesn't matter at the end of the day, right? So I truly believe that leading by example is the key to everything. Now, if the example that I give them, they do not follow, then there are rules and regulations in place currently that they will be disciplined. If you use any kind of thing that does not fit into probable cause or reasonable suspicion, okay, to make your contact with people, you are creating problems for what could be a good case down the road. They may have committed a crime. They may have committed a more serious crime. But if you are using non-legal reasons to make that stop, you risk losing that case. And if somebody's breaking the law, I think they need to face a judge and jury, right? It's not for us to decide whether they're guilty, but whether we believe that there was probable cause there that they committed a crime. Okay, you put that on the judge and the jury. But I wouldn't want to lose a case on something because somebody used race as a reason to make a stop. Now, granted, during the day, that's different. You sometimes can see the people. Sometimes you can't. I've seen some cars that are tended so well, I can't even tell how many occupants are in there. But you should not base any law enforcement action on race, color, creed, socioeconomic standard, religious. This is America. Everybody has their civil rights, and those have to be respected at all times.
Well, I appreciate you answering that.
Yes,
Here's my next question, and I think this is going to be a good one, especially for all the residents in the Autauga County. Currently, there's a pretty significant shortage of deputies. So how would you manage staffing shortages or recruitment challenges?
Okay, if I may address each one individually.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I have, since I declared candidacy, I have already had multiple law enforcement officers from both other jurisdictions and former deputies who have left reach out to me and said that if you become sheriff, I want to come work for you.
That says a lot.
Well, I have always worked well with all other agencies. As a deputy, we always had to come to town to get more papers to serve or whatever. If I saw a Prattville officer with a traffic stop by himself, I'd always back him up. I mean, I still do that to this day. I'm in an unmarked vehicle as a state supervisory agent, but if I see an officer or a trooper on the side of the road by themselves, I'm getting out with them until they tell me, hey, I'm good. Okay, just make sure you're good. I've always had a very good working relationship with other agencies, so I don't think that recruitment or filling gaps will be a problem. Now, the retention of them comes into play with empowering them to do their jobs. Okay, I'm a huge believer in not micromanaging people. I hired you for a reason because I have faith and trust that you are going to be able to do the job based upon your training and experience. Now I'm going to let you go forth and do your job. Now, that doesn't mean sometimes corrections don't have to be made, but that's part of mentoring, not micromanaging. We should have a good command staff in place that wants to mentor, not correct. There's a huge difference. Correcting is no, don't do that. Mentoring is, well, we don't need to do that, but here's how we can get around that, and this is how you can accomplish the same goal without having to make this mistake. Okay? We want to mentor our children. I want to mentor the deputies. We don't want to have to discipline our children. I don't want to have to discipline employees, right? Occasionally you have to, but when employees feel valued and they don't feel micromanaged, they want to stay. I stayed at the sheriff's office when I had multiple times of being recruited to Prattville PD, Montgomery PD for far greater money. Because I loved where I was, I loved the people I worked for, and they allowed me to do my job.
That makes the difference.
So people don't leave for $1 an hour more, $1.50 an hour more. They leave for toxicity, typically. So if you empower them and you support them, give them good training and good equipment, they stay. And when they stay, they are vested in that agency, and they want to see that agency do just as well as the leader should. Now, going forward for recruitment, I started off as a reserve. I believe in the reserve program. I was working in corporate America. I had a gentleman that worked for the sheriff's office that, we all as children romanticize about being cops and robbers and whatnot, and so I'd always pick his brain. So he worked part-time for me. He's like, what'd y'all do this weekend? What'd y'all do that? And he'd tell stories. And he said, well, why don't you come out and ride on the reserve? I didn't even know it existed until he told me about it. So I ended up joining a reserve. I'd volunteer my time. I bought my own uniform, firearm, duty belt, the whole 20 yards. And I would ride with a certified deputy. Okay. And they kind of taught us the ropes. Basically, we were a second set of eyes. Now, we also had to work football games and whatnot. More eyes on a place, the better it is, and the better to the turn. So I want a robust reserve unit that we take good people who, maybe like myself, didn't know I wanted to take that vow of poverty to become a cop before I tried it. I mean, because I did. I took a 2/3 cut in pay when I went full-time as an officer. But by the time I did that, I already knew it was in my heart to do. It wasn't a leap of faith of, hey, I'm not sure what I'm going to do here and whether I'm going to like it. I had actually tried it out, had donated my time, gave my blood, sweat, tears, heart, and soul to, and found out this is a calling. Because you don't get into law enforcement to make money. You just really don't. It truly has to be a calling. But a robust reserve program gives you a great recruitment tool. Hey, you put yourself through an academy, or you want to go through the academy. I have an opening. You have proved that you are a good deputy as a volunteer. Now let's give you the training that you require, and then I'm going to give you a job to boot. Okay. That also brings loyalty with it, because, hey, you gave me my chance. You gave me my chance. I'm going to reward you by doing a great job for you. And that's also bringing local people. I truly believe that if we can recruit local people who grew up in this county or live in this county, they have a better vested interest in protecting and serving in this county. They're not just coming here to work. Many people, years ago, Montgomery tried to put a tax on the people coming from Autauga, Elmore, and other counties to work here. They don't have a vested interest in what happens in Montgomery. That's why they want to tax. One of the reasons they want to tax them. They don't have a vested interest. They come here, they go to work, they go home. I would love to have, in the long term, all of the deputies to be pivotal parts of our county. Your little league coaches, your church members, your deacons, your whatever. You are vested in this county in so many ways. Those tentacles reach out, and you're just part of the communities. That's how you learn. When you have your boots on the ground and your ear to the ground, and you're talking to people and you're shaking hands and meeting people, you're getting the pulse of what's happening in this county. And if you have the pulse of the county, you know how to protect the county.
That's right.
So
I know this has been a question for a lot of the residents. There's been a lot of concern about the jail in Autauga County. What's actually going on with the jail?
Very loaded question, because it's being kept very secret. So I will tell you what I know, and I don't have any facts to back it. So keep that. Sheriff Harrell said that there was a mold problem in the jail.
Okay.
And he shut the jail down. Those inmates were moved to multiple other jails. The county is having to pay to house those inmates in those other jails. Of course, transportation goes with that as well, transportation to and from for court or whatnot. The county is spending millions and millions of dollars to mitigate a mold problem. The commission had a study done and the sheriff had a study done, and the two did not agree. Okay? I am not an environmentalist. I cannot tell you which one is proper. I'm not even going to step into that because, again, it's not my expertise.
Yeah.
What I can tell you is, again, I work for the state, for the Department of Corrections in the law enforcement side. We have far more facilities. All facilities suffer from some of the same issues. We suffer from occasional issues like this as well. To my knowledge, the Department of Corrections has never shut down a facility due to mold. They've been able to mitigate the mold issues by moving inmates from one dorm to another, cleaning this one, and then doing kind of like a shell game of moving people around as you mitigate issues. Okay. I personally have a huge problem with the amount of travel that we are asking our deputies to do and of the inmates. So if I arrest you in Autauga County and take you to the jail, there's a short trip to the jail, okay? But you're in jail till either you bond out or a judge releases you, okay? If I arrest you in that same place, take you there, and then now have to transport you to Morgan County or to Limestone County or Baldwin County, I'm adding an extra risk to you and the deputies. That risk is the same risk you and I posed coming here today. I could have had a wreck. Somebody could have run a stop sign or a stoplight and hit me and hurt me, right? Additionally to that, if you are a somebody in the criminal world, and I'm now transporting you to, say, Jefferson County. Let's say you're a high-ranking gangbanger. Well, your gang doesn't want you in jail. That's a security risk as well. It's also a security risk depending upon the severity of your crime. Did you just shoot somebody, murder somebody? A simple traffic accident could be an escape issue. We are having so many more contingencies possible by transporting these people. Plus, we're paying to house them in these jails. One of the jails we were housing them in was Macon County Jail. That later, we paid them to house inmates in, that later shut down their jail for deplorable conditions as well. So the question bears is, did we look at the jail before we put them in there? Did we move them out of what we said was a deplorable condition into another deplorable condition? Was that deplorable condition worse than the one we put them in? And did we pay for the privilege to do so? Right? I think there needs to be a lot of more oversight on that. All the money they're spending to mitigate mitigate the mold issue right now will come back, because when that jail was built, it's a 4-story building. Okay, the top let me back up. 2 stories make 1 floor, okay? It's set up on a mezzanine system. So you have pods that are in pie shapes, and you have a bottom floor and a top floor with a stairwell that goes up to the top floor, and it's wide open. So 2 stories make up 1 floor. The top 2 stories never were completed. So that place, that top 2 stories is not air conditioned or heated space. So do you believe mold's going to come back? I do. Yeah. Again, I'm not an environmentalist. Yeah. I do not have a degree in that. But it's the same thing in your house. Yes. Right? You know, if you have a second story, a 2-story home, but you're not heating and air conditioning it, what do you think is going to happen up there? Mold's going to grow. Right. So I think we are spending a lot of money that could be better spent elsewhere to help it. Autauga County is not a rich county. again, it's mostly blue collar folks.
Yeah.
You don't see a lot of businesses in the county proper. Okay, the businesses are in the city. Well, the city has their own taxes, and part of the city is in Elmore County. So
Yeah.
Elmore County is benefiting from even part of Prattville.
Yeah.
You know, from basically Larry Puckett on is all Elmore County. So we have to be good stewards of the taxpayer
That's
money.
right.
People joke on me, even at, I work at the Criminal Justice Center in Montgomery, and when I leave at night, I turn off lights.
Yeah.
You know, it's the old St. Margaret's Hospital. And they're like, you turn off lights? I'm like, yeah. Those lights all down that hallway are saving something, right? Now, in the state's budget, they may not see the difference, but in my heart, I know it.
Yeah.
I know that I'm making a little bit of a difference. I'm saving some taxpayer money in the days. On the top 2 floors, I think that while the current Trump administration is focusing on immigration as one of their key things they're doing, and I think they're doing a great job, because shutting down the border, we've seen a huge reduction in fentanyl overdoses. But while they're spending that money, let's ask them, hey, would you help us finish off the top 2 floors, and we'll house your detainees until they can get moved. Well, the federal government will pay you for those housing of those detainees. So not only, if that would work, are we finishing the construction that we may not be able to afford, especially now with the mitigation of mold. I believe the last total was 18 million we're up to. If the federal government would help us finish the top 2 floors on their dime, we could house federal inmates at a greater pay than state inmates. Montgomery County's doing it. Montgomery City used to do it. I mean, why not take that federal money and doubling our jail capacity? Furthermore, with federal inmates, the people working the jail have to have a little bit higher level of training. Well, the feds will pay for that training, so you're also better educating your jail staff as well. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a win-win situation no matter how you look at it. I mean, there's no reason, and it's not any of the 3 sheriffs that have had that Metro Jail's fault. It's not Mark's that wasn't finished. It's not Joe Sedinger's, and it's not Herbert Johnson's. It was the commission at that time that chose to kick that can down the road, so to speak. Well, anytime you kick a construction project down the road, it's going to cost more and more and more every year you let it go. But it's not this current commission or the current sheriff or any of the other sheriffs since the Metro Jail was built. It's not their fault. But yeah, I think that's the long-term fix. But let's mitigate the mold. Let's get our inmates back here where we can supervise them, protect them, and keep our people here. Keep them off the roads.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about leadership. Okay. So how would you describe to the people your leadership style?
I'm definitely a boots on the ground kind of leader. I know everybody always throws around the term of, I'm not going to ask you to do anything that I'm not going to do myself, but as sheriff, my plan is to have a good chief deputy that can deal with most of the business side, the day-to-day business side of the sheriff's office, because I want to be out in the county, okay? A sheriff's office under my leadership might have me answering your call for service because I'm the closest person, okay? When I say lead by example, I don't mean anything other than truly being out there with the deputies. Now, granted, as the sheriff, as the chief law enforcement officer in the county, you can't be out there with them every day. I understand that. But if I can't have the pulse of what's going on in the county, I can't make the decisions as the chief law enforcement officer to maybe correct that ship. So truly, I will be out there with the deputies, working hand in hand with them. From the deputy to the corporal to the sergeant to the lieutenant to the captain. I will be working hand in hand with them. Now, I will let them do their job, but I mean, you might have a crime scene where I show up as a second person and say, hey, what do you need me to do? Well, Sheriff, can you put some crime scene tape over there? Got it, on it, you know.
I love that.
I am just a man,
Yeah.
okay? Now, I'm a man that has a lot of experience. I'll be there to answer questions if they have it, but the way they're going to get experience is by doing. Being mentored, having someone there to answer the hard questions and to steer them in the proper path. But let them do their job. Do their job. They took an oath. They swore an oath. And that means something to us.
Yeah.
That oath means something to us. They want to support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the state of Alabama and uphold the laws therein. Okay? So help us God. I truly believe that almost every law enforcement officer truly believes in the oath that they swore. You have your outliers on any kind of profession, but I truly believe that the majority believe in the oath that they swore, and they want to get out there and do a good job. Let them do the good job.
Yeah.
But be out there and be helpful and be accessible.
Yes.
So,
You know, a lot of people may not know this, and I think it's good to talk about, especially, how important the sheriff actually is.
mm-hmm.
And I know that you said that the sheriff is the chief law enforcement officer in the county.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that for a long time. And, I think that's awesome. And I think that's why it's important, man, that people should really go out and vote.
So, without a doubt. So, and we'll just take a fictitious county, right? You have County XYZ that has, say, 5 municipalities in it. And each of those municipalities have police departments. And each of those police departments have a chief. The sheriff of any county is the chief law enforcement officer of that county. Now, granted, that doesn't mean you want to go step on people's toes. You don't.
Yeah.
Allow, again, just like you do your deputies, allow them to do their jobs.
Yeah.
But be there and be available. Pine Level in Billingsley and Autaugaville, all are small little jurisdictions. Currently, none of them, Autaugaville used to, but they currently don't have a police department. Okay, so at this time, the sheriff's office has to cover the law enforcement in that area. Ideally, those towns will grow enough to maybe have a 3 or 4 man department, right? A little more personable to that particular area, that the sheriff's office would back up. The sheriff's office would assist with technology and know-how. Typically, small towns don't have major crimes, God willing.
Yeah.
But if they do, you come as the sheriff's office, you give those resources to them. If they ask you to take over the investigation, then by God, you do it. But you include them in it at the same time. And you bring that power of a larger jurisdiction with more people. Now, granted, the city of Prattville has far more officers and technology than the sheriff's office has, just by default of the size of the population of which they have and the tax revenue they have.
Yeah.
But you need to work hand in hand with all the jurisdictions, and the sheriff is the chief law enforcement officer of that county. He has the right to tell a state officer, I need you to leave.
That's awesome.
I've got this.
Yeah. Yep.
And he's the only elected law enforcement officer.
Yep.
He's elected by the popular vote of the people who hopefully are voting because they believe that that's the person who can do the best job for their communities.
Yes.
At the end of the day.
Yep. So that's a great answer. So let's talk about accountability. So what does accountability mean to you in law enforcement leadership?
Well, I think that none of us should have egos. Okay. Again, I have what I believe is a very good resume. I've kind of done a little bit of everything. I have a great education and a lot of experience. But the kid fresh out of the academy might have a better way of doing things. So, and I'm going to play into the accountability here in a second. To not have an ego, you must be able to take criticism.
Yes.
Okay? Say, hey, and I've done this in my current job. Hey, boss, I think there's a better way to do this, right? Now, don't tell me what my way is wrong without coming with another way to do it.
Yeah.
And let's have a conversation, right? Just because you are the chief law enforcement officer doesn't mean that you know everything, right? Again, the academy kid fresh out of the academy, might see something you don't see because it's fresh eyes.
That's it.
Okay? You have to have the wherewithal to listen, evaluate, and come up with. Now, if you come to me and tell me that my way is wrong, but don't give me a reason.
You need to come with a solution.
Yeah. And your solution may not be right either. But as the chief law enforcement officer, as the sheriff, I need to tell you, okay, I like your enthusiasm, but that won't work because of X, Y, Z.
That's right.
Because I need to educate you too.
Yeah.
But there might be a molding of the two plans also. So I say that for accountability. You can't be a magnanimous person and always be right. You have to take accountability for your actions when you are wrong so that you can correct those. I used to tell my guys all the time on my shift, don't tell me when I ask you how things are going out there that it's rainbows and butterflies if it's not. Because if something is broke and you don't tell me it's broke, I don't have the ability to fix it, or at least attempt to fix it. And in this industry, if things don't get fixed, people get hurt.
Yes.
So tell me the whole truth, the hard truth.
That's it.
You know, if I'm making a mistake, I had one of the best compliments I ever had, I think, in law enforcement came from a guy that worked for me who had been the chief of police of a little 2 or 3 man department. And I was probably 2 or 3 months into being the night shift guy, the lieutenant. And he pulled me aside and says, you know, I don't know how to take you as a supervisor. I was like, okay, tell me what I'm doing wrong. He said, well, no, not necessarily doing anything wrong. He said, but, you know, when we have a hot call, you are typically the first one there. He said, if there's a car chase, you usually end up somehow in the front of the pack and chasing him.
Yeah.
He says, time to put cuffs on somebody, you're usually the one putting the cuffs on them. I'm like, okay, I thought you were telling me I did something wrong. He says, I've never had a supervisor that's worked as hard. Oh, well, I appreciate that. Thank you. I think that's a good thing. I think as a supervisor, whether it's the chief law enforcement officer or the corporal or anything in between, as a supervisor, you should be able to not only mentor your people, but show them that you're willing to do every single aspect of the job. Know it, do it, don't complain about it. It's what we signed up to do. So yes, accountability starts with me.
Yeah.
And again, back to leading by example. If I'm taking accountability for things that I do wrong, as such, so should you. Again, we're all men.
Yeah.
And women. We still answer to the same person. Same God.
That's right.
I have to be able to take accountability for my actions, otherwise I can't learn from them.
Yeah.
And if I'm doing it, then I think they should too.
Yeah.
So,
you know, I know one thing that I always wonder about, especially when it comes to being a sheriff. You know, a sheriff, you know, it is a large territory. But I think it's important for the people to know, will they, if you are elected as the sheriff, will they have access to you?
absolutely. From day one, I want to stop this closed door policy. I think that citizens, granted, sheriffs, chiefs of police, they get meetings and they're out doing things. But if you come in and want to talk to the sheriff, if available, I think you should be able to have a conversation with the sheriff. And not just the citizens, I also think that the employees should too.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's a fine line between working through your chain of, on the employee side, working through your chain of command, and being able to come with a personal problem.
Yeah.
You know, I think there should be an open door policy for both the citizens and the staff members.
Yeah.
As the elected official, the chief law enforcement officer, back to, if I don't know it's broke, how do I fix it? Come talk to me.
Yep.
Come talk to me. If I can't have a conversation with you now, we'll schedule one.
Yeah.
One of the things I want to do so that you don't feel that you have to come talk to me is get out there and have community town halls throughout, not just at the election year.
Yeah.
I don't think one of the things that is just kills me is seeing elected officials, and I'm not picking on just a sheriff here, I'm talking all elected officials, who you only see or hear from them when it's time to get reelected. Talk to the people throughout the time.
Yeah.
You don't really have, I feel, one really would not have to campaign as hard to get reelected if they're seeing you all the time and they're able to address their grievances or give suggestions or just ask simple questions. One of the things about the deputies being visible is, people say, that deputy was sitting there at that convenience store for 15 minutes, wasting my money. In that 15 minutes, though, was he greeting people that came in? Was he talking to people? Hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
Part of the thing that law enforcement has a problem is demystifying that we're humans too. We have a badge and a uniform, but we're humans. Let's have a conversation. If you feel that the deputies are approachable, you're more likely to approach them when you need them.
Yep.
But if you feel they're not approachable and you have a problem, it's just, my problem's just minor, that I don't want to bother them. No, come bother us.
Yeah.
If it's something we can do something for you, we will. Yep. If it's not, then we'll tell you we can't, and maybe this is another avenue.
Yes.
People come all the time and ask questions, and there's sometimes I tell them, look, that's not criminal, that's civil. But what you need to do is talk to this, that, or the other, right? I can't help you because I'm only criminal law, right? But here's a group, or here's who you need to talk to for that issue, And if I don't know, hey, let me see if I can't find out for you.
Yep.
It's simple. Just have communication with people.
Yeah, that's something that I kind of agree with you about. People in the county, they want to know what's going on. And one thing I love about President Trump is the level of transparency. We know what's going on. We know all this type of stuff. And I think whoever is elected as sheriff needs to understand that there's a thing called social media. And if we're going to reach people, we have to reach them on their phone. And I love that you said that. And because a lot of times, not in a lot of times, but sometimes whoever gets elected as sheriff tends not to care about the people other than the vote. And I'm very glad about your open door policy, especially for the deputies and the other staff, because a lot of people don't understand what you guys have to face on the day-to-day basis. And I think it's important that the deputies know that their sheriff has their back.
I do too.
And, I think that's one of the leading causes in Montgomery for crime, is because the officers are really not allowed to police and do their job.
Absolutely.
And, I like a sheriff who's a sheriff, and I can really see that about you.
So my heart's in it.
Yes.
I mean, without a doubt, my heart is in it. I love this job.
Yeah.
You truly get to affect change. Now, granted, sometimes that change is negative, right? It's putting somebody in prison.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's positive.
Yeah.
One of the ways I really truly count myself blessed since this campaign started is I have been approached by several people that I have put in jail and or prison. And, after 23 years, you've done a lot, right? Yep. And several of them came up and thanked me. Hey, look, I know you used to chase me all around this county. He said, but look now, I'm married, I have 3 kids, I go to church, I got a job, this, that, and the other. Man, I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
I may have chased you, and I may have, had to fight you to get you into jail. But if you changed, I'm proud of you, 100%. I had one that the whole county used to chase all the time. I'm not going to call him out on a podcast, but great guy, always loved to run from the police.
Yes.
And I was blessed to have a relationship well enough that, I could call his mom and say, hey, he's got a warrant.
He's running.
He's got a warrant. Just so he doesn't have to go to jail and lose his job. His bond is $500. have him get the money. It's $75 to their bonding company. I'll come
Yeah.
by and pick him up on a Saturday. We'll
Yeah.
take him up to jail, let him bond out. I'll bring him home.
Yep.
And, you know, my buddy would be like, man, how'd you get him into custody? Of course, you know, I told him, well, I chased him down because I'm faster than him.
Yeah.
It wasn't. I mean, but, you know, I ran into him and it's just, man, it's good to see you. You got grandkids now?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. You know, it's good to see that you can affect change in people in a positive way, even in the most negative times.
Yeah.
Right? You take people at their worst, and sometimes you have to do things they don't like, putting them in jail.
Mm-hmm.
But all of us sometimes need that, as I always say, that 2x4 to the head of, you know, hey, this is my worst feeling ever, to want to have to change. And sometimes it takes that. We have to hit the lowest of lows to change. But at the end of the day, it's the change that counts. It's the change that counts.
Mm-hmm.
It's not so much what you've done in the past. It's what you do from that point forward that defines who you are.
Yeah.
You know, I tell my boys this all the time as a man. That defines out, we're going to make mistakes. We're fallible creatures. But when you realize you made a mistake, you pivot, you go a different direction. And it's that point forward. It's not the mistake that defines you. It's how you handle the mistake and where you go forward that defines who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
It's the same for the citizens that break the law.
Yes.
I have no animosity towards them. It's nothing personal. You know, there are times that people have warrants. I haven't taken them to jail. Hey, now, in the end of the day, you have to go at some point in time, but let's look at the totality of the circumstances. What is this warrant for, first of all, right? It's because your dog got out of your fence and pooped in your neighbor's yard and they wrote a warrant on you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm not going to arrest you at work or on the side of the road, tow your car, have to have somebody come get your kids when I can tell you, hey, somebody put a warrant on you, you need to come down here and handle that.
Yeah.
Right? No different than traffic tickets. Technically, according to the law, at 56 miles an hour and a 55, you've broken the law.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a thing called the letter of the law and the spirit of the law. The spirit of the law says that I don't have to write you the ticket. A ticket's an arrest.
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't know that. It's just an arrest that you are basically given a bond on the side of the road.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily have to write you the ticket or take you to jail, depending upon what it is, right? Because we're all humans. We all have to face what we are accused of at some point in time, and whether down here or up there. But I don't have to make it so detrimental on you that you lose your job or whatever, especially depending upon what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Again, now, if you have a murder warrant, guess what? I'm not giving you the breaks. You're going to jail now. But you got to have a heart to be in this industry. Common sense and have a heart. Those are the two key things to be in law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
You have a heart. Empathize with people and their plight.
Yep. So I've got two final questions for you.
Okay. Yes, sir.
So I understand that 3 of the candidates have task force experience. 2 of them went to the DEA. Mm-hmm. What was your task force experience, and what does that bring to Autauga County as Sheriff?
Okay. Good question. Thank you. So, we have 2 of the candidates were task force officers for DEA. And for the viewers that don't know what a task force is, it's a mutual agreement between cities, counties, and federal agencies. It also can be state agencies as well. Mm-hmm. But you give personnel to assist in the greater prosecution. And with that, the federal or the state entity gives you resources and a larger jurisdiction, right? So for the DEA ones, that allows, when I was working narcotics at Autauga County, there were times that we would do drug buys, and you're working on somebody doing the buy that's usually a confidential informant who may not know where a jurisdictional line lies. Yeah. So hey, we're going to go into Prattville and buy X amount of dope. Well, next thing you know, we're going across the river bridge and we're in Montgomery. Well, as a deputy, I can't make a case in Montgomery. Yeah. But I had friends in other narcotics, so I called a buddy of mine who worked at Montgomery Narcotics. Hey, We just tripped into your county. We're going to make a buy. I'm going to go ahead and make the buy, but will you take the case? Sure. Okay. A task force can cover those jurisdictional boundaries without having to worry. So the task force I was assigned to was a joint FBI and U.S. Department of Justice
Wow.
task force to combat public corruption and civil rights violations under color of law. So to split it in half there, the public corruption is people in, well, primarily what we did was officers that are violating public trust and either using their office for personal gain, committing crimes and making money off it, things like that. And then the civil rights under color of law violations are violating somebody's civil rights, such as like the Eighth Amendment, cruel and unusual punishment. We have to tussle to get you into jail, right? You're a big guy. I get the handcuffs on you. But I feel pain from having to tussle with you, so I give you an extra jab. That is a violation of your civil rights. That is illegal, right? And of course, it gets way worse than that many times, sadly, many times. I was blessed that our prosecutors came out of D.C., out of the Department of Justice Civil Rights Criminal Division, and came down to not only assist in all of our interviews and our investigation, which at first was weird because I've never had a prosecutor there in the middle of an investigation, but it actually was very beneficial in the fact that they know what questions they have to have answers to prosecute a case. Whereas I'm not a prosecutor. I'm just a truth seeker, right? A fact finder. I put a bunch of facts together and present it to a prosecutor. You know, say, hey, I believe that this is enough for this crime, and then they have to worry about that. Well, having them working hand in hand with us was amazing. So they would fly down from D.C. and usually spend, 2 to 7 days down here, and then while they were down here, we were boom, 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 boom. We had investigations that lasted many years over, but to put some very, very bad people who have abused people or abused public trust into federal prison. There are not many law enforcement officers that I believe are dirty. I believe the majority of all of them are good people that want to do a good job, just as I do with doctors, nurses, and everything else. There's always going to be in any industry some bad. How dare I police a populace if I'm not willing to police myself? Right?
Come on.
I mean, that makes you a hypocrite.
That's good.
And I think we are no better than the civilians, the citizens, but we have to be better by the job that we took, right? So as a young deputy, I've always loved music, right? I love music. And I have so many different genres of music that I like that people they're amazed that I can listen to heavy metal and country and classical and jazz. I love blues. So I'm all over the spectrum. I love music. But when I was a deputy, we were not allowed to go to, in Prattville, the Blue Iguana, where live music was played. Any place that served alcohol that had live music. Well, where's live music always played? Usually in a place that serves alcohol. At least locally. You have to go to BJCC or wherever else to not have that. And at first I didn't understand it. I was like, well, I'm not going to drink, so what does it matter? But the public perception is they see me in there with a Coca-Cola in my hand or a Pepsi or a sweet tea or whatever, a cup of coffee. The public perception is I'm in a bar and I have a drink and they saw me drinking, they saw me get into a car and drive, and how dare I pull their brother over for a DUI who he just about killed somebody and write a ticket because I'm a hypocrite. Even though I truly was not, it was the public perception. So I say that to say we are no better than anybody else, but we have to go beyond to show that we are being better than as humans we even want to be.
Here's my last question for you. For those of you that do not know, I'm a pastor in Prattville, And I would like for you to share with the viewers your faith and what you believe.
Okay, I'm a true believer in God and that Jesus died on the cross to take our sins from us. If I may tell you a little story.
Of course.
This is one of my, I'm getting chills thinking about telling you, you can't see it because I have a jacket on. In 2007, as a deputy, I was headed to work. It was sunny behind me, and it was really dark in front of me. Are you familiar with Autauga County at all?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you know where Whitewater Camp is? Okay, so it's that big dip that comes
Yep.
down. If you're coming towards Prattville, as you come to the top of the hill, there's another little dip and a curve, and then there's a cemetery off on the side. As I came up the hill, water droplets, big, huge water droplets hit.
Big jumbo
I
ones.
remember this specifically. Before I made the top of the hill, I let off the gas and I turned on my windshield wipers. You know, typical weird Alabama weather. It's sunny behind me,
Yes.
but it's a virtual downpour. It looked like a sheet, like a waterfall almost in front of me. As I topped the hill, there was a river going across 82. My car hydroplaned, went completely sideways. I tried to counter steer. It didn't work. All four wheels were hydroplaned. Headed straight towards a tree, right at the entrance to that cemetery. I hit the tree at what they later determined was 70 miles an hour at the driver door lock of a Crown Victoria. That tree was on a little bit of a incline, about 2 to 3 feet of incline. Because of that incline, it launched my Crown Vic in the air, and I flipped all the way over the top of 82, never touched it, and landed on the roof on the other side.
Wow.
And I was conscious for this entire thing. I looked out, I'm upside down, I'm hurting, I knew that. My fear was I had landed on the other side of the tree line and nobody was going to find me, right? So I immediately wanted to extricate myself out of the vehicle. I pulled off my seatbelt. Not the smartest move I ever did because I'm upside down and I fell, right? And I couldn't move my legs.
Oh, man.
And a little tinge of fear hit me really quick there. Oh, I'm paralyzed. I was able to get my radio and call in. I went back to one of the officer survival trainings I had where, you know, we listened to officers in distress and they're screaming 4 octaves above their normal level and nobody can understand them. And I was so proud of myself because I took a deep breath and I called it in calmly. To the other end, I heard 10-9, which is a question of, what did you say? The second time, apparently, I didn't have as much wherewithal and as calm. Well, I can't move. I can't get myself out of this vehicle. And I specifically remember the hand of an elderly woman coming in and grabbing my hand. I'm scared. I'm not sure if I'm going to die, whether I'm paralyzed or what. She grabs my hand and she says, "I'm with you. You are fine." And a peace washed over me.
Wow.
I still had the pain, but it didn't bother me. It was there. I knew it was there. It didn't bother me any longer.